When you look at the logos of Adidas and Puma, you see two of the most powerful brands in sports, rivals that dominate the global market. But few people know the dark and emotional story behind their creation. A story not of corporate competition, but of family betrayal. Two brothers, born in the same home, once worked side by side to create the greatest sports shoes in history. But war, pride, and misunderstanding would tear them apart, splitting not only a family, but also an entire town in Germany. This is the incredible story of how Adidas and Puma came to life, a tale of brotherhood, ambition, and rivalry that still echoes across the sports world today. Our story begins in Herzogenaurach, a quiet town in Bavaria, Germany. It was here that two brothers, Adolf Dassler, born in 1900, and Rudolf Dassler, born in 1898, grew up in a modest family. Their father worked in a shoe factory, and from a young age, both brothers learned the craft of shoemaking. But their personalities couldn't have been more different. Adi, the younger brother, was quiet, creative, and deeply passionate about designing and improving shoes. Rudy, on the other hand, was outgoing, charming, and had a natural talent for sales and communication. Together, they made the perfect team. Adi would create, and Rudy would sell. After World War I, Germany was struggling. The economy was in ruins, but the Dassler brothers saw an opportunity. In 1924, they founded a small company called Gebrüder Dassler Schuhfabrik, the Dassler Brothers Shoe Factory. They set up shop in their mother's laundry room, using whatever materials they could find. Their goal was simple but ambitious: to create the best sports shoes in the world. Adi Dassler was obsessed with performance. He believed that every athlete should have shoes specifically designed for their sport, light, durable, and precise. At the time, that idea was revolutionary. Adi started experimenting, adding spikes for runners, designing soles for grip, and testing materials that could enhance movement. Rudy, the born salesman, took these shoes to athletes, convincing them to try the brothers' creations. Their first major break came during the 1928 Amsterdam Olympics, where athletes wore Dassler shoes and won medals. But it was the 1936 Berlin Olympics that truly changed everything. American athlete Jesse Owens, who would go on to win 4 gold medals, ran wearing Dassler shoes. It was a defining moment. The world's attention turned to this small German brand. The Dassler brothers were suddenly famous. Orders flooded in, and their small family business became a national success story. For a while, everything seemed perfect, but behind the scenes, tension was growing between Adi and Rudy. The same differences that made them successful also began to tear them apart. Adi was a perfectionist, focused on craftsmanship and innovation. Rudy was aggressive, ambitious, and more interested in expanding the business and making profits. Adi thought Rudy was reckless. Rudy thought Adi was too cautious and slow. Their wives also didn't get along, which added more fuel to the fire. Arguments became frequent, about money, about leadership, about who deserved credit. But then came World War II, and everything changed. When the war broke out, the Dassler factory was forced to produce military goods instead of sports shoes. Adi stayed behind to manage the factory, while Rudy was drafted into the German army. During this time, suspicion and paranoia ran high. Letters, rumors, and misunderstandings deepened the divide between the brothers. Rudy believed that Adi and his wife were plotting against him, that Adi had deliberately kept him away to take control of the company. Meanwhile, Adi suspected Rudy of being too close to the Nazi party, fearing it would harm the business. When the Allies invaded Germany near the end of the war, both brothers tried to protect the factory, but something happened that would destroy their relationship forever. According to some accounts, when Allied bombs fell near Herzogenaurach, Adi and his wife took shelter in a bunker where Rudy's family was already hiding. When Adi saw them, he reportedly said, "The dirty bastards are back again." Rudy thought Adi was talking about him and his family, but Adi claimed he meant the Allied planes. That misunderstanding became the final crack in their bond. When the war ended, Rudy was captured by American forces. He believed Adi had tipped them off, leading to his arrest. He never forgave his brother. By 1948, their relationship was beyond repair. The brothers decided to split the company, dividing not only the business but also their employees, their designs, and even their town. Adi took his part of the company and renamed it Adidas, a combination of his nickname Adi and the first part of his last name Dassler. Rudy, meanwhile, started his own company across the river and called it Ruda, later changing it to Puma for a stronger, more dynamic sound. The town of Herzogenaurach was instantly divided. People had to choose sides, Adidas or Puma. Even marriages were affected. Families and friends stopped talking to each other. Local shops, restaurants, and even bars became known as either Adidas-friendly or Puma-friendly. It was said that people would look down at your shoes before talking to you to see which side you were on. Both companies grew rapidly. Adi Dassler focused on performance and innovation. He was obsessed with improving athletes' experience. Under his leadership, Adidas created the first screw-in studs for football boots, a game changer. In the 1954 World Cup, the West German team, wearing Adidas boots, beat the heavily favored Hungarian team. That victory made Adidas a global name. Meanwhile, Rudi Dassler's Puma was no less ambitious. Rudi was a brilliant marketer. Bold, aggressive, and always looking for star power. He signed deals with top athletes, most famously Pelé, the Brazilian football legend. In fact, during the 1970 World Cup, right before kickoff, Pelé asked the referee for a moment to tie his Puma shoes, a stunt arranged by the brand. Millions of cameras focused on his feet, giving Puma the most valuable exposure imaginable. The rivalry wasn't just about business anymore, it was personal. Every victory by one brother was a defeat for the other. Every new innovation, every endorsement, every success story was part of their ongoing battle. Despite their massive success, the personal cost was heavy. The brothers never reconciled. They lived in the same town but never spoke again. Their factories stood on opposite sides of the river, silent reminders of their broken bond. When Rudi Dassler died in 1974, his family buried him in the local cemetery, on one side. When Adi Dassler died 4 years later in 1978, he was buried on the opposite side, as far away as possible from his brother. Even in death, the feud continued. After the founders passed away, both companies continued to grow, now run by their children and corporate successors. Adidas became the global leader in sportswear, known for its iconic 3 stripes and sponsorships with stars like Muhammad Ali, Run DMC, and later Lionel Messi. Puma, on the other hand, continued its fierce competition, collaborating with icons like Pelé, Usain Bolt, Rihanna, and Neymar. For decades, the rivalry remained intense. Adidas versus Puma wasn't just a business story, it became a cultural phenomenon. But something remarkable happened in 2009, more than 60 years after the brothers split. Employees from both companies met on a football field for a friendly match, a symbolic gesture of peace. It was the first time since the 1940s that Adidas and Puma stood side by side, not as enemies, but as part of the same story. The story of Adidas and Puma is more than just the story of 2 shoe companies. It's a story about family, ego, forgiveness, and legacy. Adi Dassler showed us the power of craftsmanship, the belief that perfection lies in the details. Rudi Dassler showed us the importance of vision, that boldness and charisma can build empires. Together, their rivalry pushed the world of sports forward, fueling innovation, competition, and passion. But it also reminds us that success means nothing without unity, that sometimes the people closest to us can become our greatest rivals, and that pride, if left unchecked, can destroy even the strongest bonds. Today, when you see the 3 stripes of Adidas or the leaping cat of Puma, remember that both were born from the same house, the same dream, and the same bloodline. Adi and Rudi Dassler may have built 2 separate empires, but together they built the foundation of the modern sports industry. Their story stands as a timeless reminder that greatness can rise from rivalry, but peace and respect make a legacy truly eternal.